The entire history of Rome, rise and fall of the Roman Empire. Chapter 1.
The story of Rome begins not with the marble arches and mighty legions of empire, but with myth. According to Roman tradition, the gods themselves shaped the destiny of this city. The tale begins with twin brothers, Romulus and Remus, abandoned as infants along the banks of the Tiber River. Legend says a she-wolf nurtured them, sustaining their lives until a shepherd found them and raised them as his own. As men, the brothers dreamed of building a new city on the very site of their rescue, but ambition soon led to conflict. In a violent quarrel over where the new city should stand, Romulus slew Remus. In this act of fratricide, Rome was born, its very foundation steeped in blood and destiny. Though myth, the story of Romulus reveals truths that define Rome itself: a relentless will to survive, a readiness to shed blood for greatness, and a belief that Rome's fate was written in the stars. Archaeology tells us that around the 8th century BCE, small settlements on the hills of central Italy coalesced into a community that would grow into Rome. Nestled along the Tiber River, the site was ideally placed, defensible with its 7 hills, yet open to trade and travel routes across the Italian peninsula. Rome's earliest rulers were kings, many of them influenced by the neighboring Etruscans. The Etruscans gave Rome much of its religious practice, engineering, and even the very symbols of royal power. The Roman kingdom, lasting from around 753 to 509 BCE, was far from the Rome of later centuries, but it planted the seeds of what would come. Kings oversaw the development of temples, roads, and the early military traditions that would one day dominate the Mediterranean. Yet the monarchy also planted resentment. Romans grew weary of kingship, particularly after the rule of Tarquin the Proud, whose tyranny sparked outrage. In 509 BCE, Rome's nobles overthrew the monarchy, vowing never again to bow to a single ruler. From this revolution emerged one of history's most remarkable experiments, the Roman Republic. Power was now held by magistrates elected annually, the most prominent being the consuls, 2 leaders who shared authority to prevent tyranny. The Senate, composed of Rome's aristocrats, advised the magistrates and increasingly dominated decision-making. Beneath them were the assemblies, where ordinary citizens, the plebeians, voted on laws and elected officials. The Republic was not a democracy in the modern sense. Wealth and noble birth carried enormous weight, yet Rome's political system was flexible, able to adapt through compromise. In time, plebeians secured greater rights, including the election of tribunes who could veto unfair laws. This balance between aristocracy, popular representation, and executive power created a remarkably stable system, one that would last for centuries. But Rome was never content with stability alone. From its earliest days, the Republic was forged in war. Surrounded by rival tribes and city-states, Rome's survival depended on military strength. The Romans developed a citizen army that could be called upon year after year. Discipline, organization, and innovation made their legions formidable. Unlike many ancient armies that relied on mercenaries, Rome's soldiers were also citizens with a stake in the Republic's survival. Victory brought not only security, but also land, slaves, and wealth that fed Rome's expansion. First, Rome subdued its immediate neighbors, the Latin tribes. Next came the Etruscans to the north, and the fierce Samnites to the south. Each war tested the Republic's resilience, but each ended with Roman victory. Conquered peoples were often offered a share in Rome's success, instead of annihilation. Rome extended partial citizenship, alliances, and the benefits of Roman roads, law, and protection. This policy, shrewd and practical, turned enemies into allies and gradually expanded Roman influence across Italy. By the early 3rd century BCE, Rome was the dominant power on the Italian peninsula, yet beyond Italy lay challenges far greater. Across the Mediterranean to the west was Carthage, a wealthy maritime empire controlling North Africa, Spain, and much of the western seas. To the east were the Greek city-states and the remnants of Alexander the Great's empire. Rome was about to step onto a world stage, where the rewards of victory were vast, but the cost of failure was destruction. The Republic's foundations, discipline, adaptability, and relentless ambition would now be tested in wars that would decide the fate of the Mediterranean world. The transition from a city-state to a regional power had been swift, but Rome's leaders believed their destiny was only beginning. The Senate dreamed of expanding beyond Italy, while Roman citizens hungered for the spoils of conquest. At the same time, Rome's system of shared power, with annual elections and rotating leadership, meant no single man could dominate. This kept tyranny at bay but also ensured that Rome's conquests would be the work of generations, carried forward by countless leaders, generals, and citizens bound together by their devotion to the Republic. The seeds of greatness were sown. Rome was now a republic with an army unmatched in discipline, a political system that rewarded ambition yet checked tyranny, and a vision of destiny that reached beyond its hills and valleys. Ahead lay centuries of triumphs and tragedies, wars against Carthage, civil strife within, the rise of emperors, the building of monuments, and the eventual collapse into ruin. But for now, Rome stood at the dawn of its ascent, a republic forged in struggle, bound by law, and driven by an unyielding hunger for glory. Its legions would march far beyond Italy, its laws and culture would spread across continents, and its name Rome would echo through history as one of the greatest civilizations the world has ever known.